Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cole. In today's video we are looking at a LEGO model of the Mercedes W140 generation S-Class, in this particular the S600. And today we're going to take a look at how it goes together and some of the interesting techniques that went into it and how I designed it, I guess. And so let's begin. Before we get started, the instructions are available at the link in the description below in case you'd like to build this model yourself. So if you've watched my channel for a while, you've probably seen that I've built a lot of supercars. But one thing that would not be obvious from the cars I've built, and I probably should build more of them because that way it is more obvious, I guess, is that I'm actually a big Mercedes fan, and actually a big Mercedes AMG sedan fan, more to be more specific. And so one of my very favorites is the W140 generation S-Class, with its kind of like extreme 90s luxury and then very simple, kind of not very in your face at all styling. And there's something really cool about that, even the very standard ones, they just have something really cool 90s styling Mercedes about them. I don't know, they're super high-tech cars at the time. They're actually not incredibly unreliable, unlike a lot of other later Mercedes and other German cars of the time. And yeah, they're just extremely cool cars. I personally like a lot of the other Mercedes of the time too, but we'll talk about that in another video sometime. Probably going to build more in the future now that we've built this one. So in case you didn't know, obviously some of you guys will be able to tell from the title what this kind of car is based on, but you could buy this W140 generation S600 in real life with various engine options. You had a 6-cylinder, you had an 8-cylinder, but the most powerful one obviously was the 12-cylinder V12 engine. Now the V12 was, as a lot of car enthusiasts know, shared with the Pagani Zonda. I'm not sure if it's an exact same engine, but it's very close and doesn't really matter anyway because it sounds insane when you put an exhaust on it, as evidenced by many of the videos that one of these cars is in real life, which can be found on the F-Spot channel. Now, F-Spot's channel is one of my very favorite YouTube channels, just one of my favorite car channels in general, and I met the guy in real life, really cool guy, and so I figured, hey yeah, we should build his car because it's a really awesome car. Nice dark blue on that AMG monoblock, actually it's not monoblock, multi-piece wheel, I'm not really sure what the proper name for that is. And it's got obviously the $12,000 exhaust, which makes it sound incredible. And I've not heard it in real life. I've seen it in real life though, and that's kind of a weird thing to brag about in the video, but there you go. And yeah, that's why I'm just kind of really like this car and figured that's why we'd build one. And so I'm extremely happy how it turned out. And so let's go into the design and just kind of how this car goes together a little bit more. So I thought I would try again in this video, the thing where I take the car apart and show you guys how it goes together in order to properly showcase the techniques and just kind of make the video a bit more interesting. So yeah, let's do that. And let's just take it apart. Alright, so now that we have taken it apart, let us go through the design and show you guys how it goes together and showcase some of the interesting techniques used. And we'll start with the chassis of the car. So as you can see, pretty simple design. We've got the standard 6x12, is that the 6x14 plate actually, maybe. Now in real life, F-Spot's car has a dark blue interior, so I have tried to represent that as well as possible with some dark blue, well, floor obviously, and you have basically what forms the rear bench seat right here. You have these sideways facing headlight bricks right here. Let me see if I get that focus. These hold on the sides. We have some clips, we have some jumper plates for minifigures. In the front here, we just have some kind of general stuff. We also have some of these 1x1 round tiles with bars on top, which are super useful, one of my very favorite parts these days. So then next up, we have the seats themselves, basically just a bar piece or plate with bar, and you have a tile and you have a little headrest on top. Now, sadly, not all these parts are available in dark blue, so only the center part is. So that's as good as it's going to get right now. Basically, we will assemble that just like that. Then we have the front bumper, which is one of my favorite parts of the car. My friend Brick-Built Mocs on Instagram helped a ton with designing this design, so make sure you go give him a follow and go check his mocks out. He's built some really excellent stuff, and yeah, he was massive help with designing this front bumper. As you can see, we have basically front lip, intake, some headlights, or some fog lights I guess these would be, and that uses the clip pieces to connect to those tiles with bars. So that just slides on right there, and there we go, upside down mounted very nicely. Then we have our representation of the 7-liter or 7 point something, probably 7.3 liter V12 engine, which is incredibly simple because there's not much space back here. That just goes right on there. We have the front grille, which is, as you can see, mounted with some robot arms and then clips with bar and then plates with bar. And the grille itself is on the front, and that basically just connects right here once we get that in there. Then we have the sides of the car, which are formed a very interesting technique. So as you can see, so this is basically your bottom part of the side skirt. So we have the bottom of the side skirt basically. Then we have this silver stripe, or in this case light gray stripe. This is using a very interesting technique because to connect this to the rest of the side skirt, or the side of the car, which is basically this, we have these brackets facing upwards. We also have these headlight bricks facing downwards to connect the bottom of the side skirt, which is kind of complicated. It actually works really nicely. It's quite satisfying how all those upside down studs done on top techniques work together. And then basically that connects to those upside down headlight bricks, which I showed you earlier, or sideways headlight bricks, I should say. Then in the front here, we have the dashboard. And as you can see, we have Mr. Sheep here on the dashboard. Obviously, very important detail on this car. If you don't know who Mr. Sheep is, just go watch one of F-Spot's videos. Unfortunately, he's not on the right side of the steering wheel, but because of the windshield piece, we cannot get him on the right side. And so he's in there, which I think is a cool detail. And that basically just goes in just like that. Then for the rear bumper, we have some of my just very favorite techniques I've ever used on any model. As you can see, we have these brackets back here. Now this whole assembly connects in there. So we have some plates, we have some bricks, we have these snot brick or studs on top brick with these tiles that are transparent, which form the reverse lights. We have the rear bumper part that sticks out. We have the bottom part of the rear bumper. And we have the exhaust pipe, which is this 1x2 plate or 2x2 corner plate is our representation of the $12,000 exhaust. And that basically just slides in right there. And then we obviously have these modified tiles with studs on them lined up right there, so that all kind of lines up quite nicely. Then on top of that, we have this assembly, which is basically it's pretty simple. It's really just snot brick and then some plates and a bracket and another transparent tile, and that basically lines up right here. And so that way all these transparent tiles line up next to each other. We have one more on this side, and then this is where it really gets kind of crazy. We have this assembly. Now let's just look at one part of this. Basically, this is a bracket and on top of two plates, and that is connected to this assembly, which kind of goes out right to the... Then on top of that, we have this slope, and that forms this assembly, which looks quite interesting. Basically, that's on this kind of connected thing to a symmetrical assembly, and then that connects to everything else on top here. Let's see if we can get that in there. Now everything's lined up like that. So then, this is probably one of my very favorite techniques I've ever used in any model. We have this assembly, which is basically made of this very new piece, which is a two brick tall brick, or maybe it's like one brick and two plates tall, studs on three sides, and then basically all this connects there. Now this lower part actually makes for the part where the license plate would go on the real car. We have these slopes on either side. And then on top of that, we put this basically just stack of plates that connects right there. So now this part is indented, and then also there's lots of fingerprints on this, so I apologize for that. That basically slides in right on top like this. And now I will say, I'm not sure if this is 100% legal connection. Well, I think it's illegal, but I'm not really sure. I think some parts are slightly stressed, but honestly, this is literally one of my very favorite things I've ever done building Lego. Just this tail light assembly has come out with the reverse light bar, or the tail light bar, whatever you call that part, and then the tail lights, and then the indented license plate. I think this just came out so clean, and I'm just really, really happy with how it turned out. Then in the front, we have the headlights, and that is really pretty simple. Again, we're just using, or actually we have just a bracket on there, and then as you can see, okay, can we focus? There we go. Bracket, tile with clip, a 1x1 round plate with a bar, and then the headlight itself is the 1x2 tile, and that just connects right on front there. Then behind the headlights, we have the very interesting technique of basically, we have this wedge plate here, and the reason for that is to fit this wedge plate, which is holding the turn signal indicator under it, which is basically just a 1x1 plate that's transparent orange mounted to an extremely ludicrously expensive headlight brick in dark blue. And that basically mounts right here. And the reason that we're using this wedge plate in the back is basically so this wedge plate in the front can overhang all the way over the front of the car, and that basically fills the gap. So it doesn't look incredibly clean, all these studs, but this is the only way to get this wedge angle in the front here. And so we're just making do with that compromise because I think it looks really good. Then we have the hood. Again, not incredibly difficult, just some tiles, and you have that bracket under there to form the top part of the grille. You have some plates with bars and then some robot arms, and basically that just kind of all connects right here. This is actually pretty similar to the bricks, blocks, knocks 2-point hinge technique, which just kind of connects the hood right there. And while this was originally hinged intending just for it to be basically sit at the right angle, it also makes it openable, which is rather cool. As you can see, kind of opens like that, and you can see the engine inside. And yeah, basically it's really simple, but it looks really good and nice and clean. Now technically the whole hood should be slanted forward, but I just did something kind of like with the R32 GTR, or I just sloped the center part, and then that kind of makes the rest of it look sloped, and that's kind of good enough in this case, because if we tried to make the whole thing sloped, it'd be too sloped. But although in the future, I may try and modify it where we use the city style fender and then make the whole hood sloped, but we'll see how it goes. That could be a cool future project actually. Then in back we have the C-pillars, which use a really cool technique, which is these two wedge tiles, I guess, and then we have another 1x1 round plate with a bar. As you can see, I'm using a ton of these in the MOCs lately, and then that basically all connects right on top of there, just like that. And then this side, same thing, connects right on top of there, just like that. Boom, looks really cool. Rear window is basically a 2x6 tile, and then we have two hinge bricks, and then under that you have two jumper plates, and that's not focusing out. There we go, very nice. That goes right into there, and it is super clean, really well, not entirely flush the C-pillars with the rear window and the trunk lid, but it looks really cool. Then up front we have the windshield. Now this is kind of awkward because typically 8-stud wide cars with 6-stud wide windshields do not look super good if they are like, you know, really wide and then the windshield's not so wide. And yeah, this kind of has that, unfortunately. But I couldn't really find any better way of doing it, so we just had to stick with it. I did try bars for the windshield, but just bars didn't look right in this car. It needed to have a proper windshield, and so we're going with this one. Then we have the roof, which is basically 6 2x6 tiles, or 2x4 tiles, I should say. Then we have the A pillars, or actually these are the B pillars, which are held on with brackets, and they are just curved slopes. And that goes on right like this. Let's try to get that on there. Boom. Just like that. And then we have the wheels, which are basically my very favorite part of the model. Now, in case you couldn't tell already, these have been painted, obviously. Now this design for a wheel, I think it was originally for the F40 set, but it looks just like an AMG monoblock wheel. And so I've used some Tamiya spray paint. TS53 is, I believe, the paint code in case you want to buy some yourself. Painted the inside of it, I just sanded it down a little bit, and it looks incredibly good. It is actually metallic blue, but it's close enough, and it just looks so like insane. It's nuts how good this looks. I'm not trying to brag, I'm just saying this paint looks insane. It's basically a perfect match to the blue color. Another thing I should point out with this model is that the color itself, which is dark blue, one of my very favorite Lego colors, and I built the Veyron before in half dark blue, like two-tone black and blue, but having a full car in dark blue just looks absolutely insane. Now it is absolutely insanely expensive as well because these fenders are already incredibly rare. These headlight bricks, like I pointed out, are incredibly expensive because there are very few for sale on Bricklink. And so yeah, if you plan to build this in dark blue, get ready to pay a lot of money for it because a lot of these parts are incredibly rare. But you could probably build it in black or silver and it would look just as cool. And that way you wouldn't have to paint the wheels, or you could paint the wheels black on a black one, or you keep the wheels silver on a silver one so they match. That would probably look really cool anyway. So everyone, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Something a bit different. I'm not sure if I said this earlier in the Zenvo video, but this is basically going to be the only other video where I do a design overview thing like that, because in the future we're just going to film the video as I design the models. But with these two models, or at least this and the Zenvo in the previous video, I kind of wanted to show you guys how they go together and make it a bit more interesting than the standard just looking at the model from the outside kind of thing. So yeah, future videos will not be like this. Technical, I guess they'll be more interesting, but also still kind of technical, and they will be more appealing to people who don't get this technical as well as people who want to get this technical. I don't know. Anyway, either way, they will still be good. So stay subscribed if you don't mind. And I guess that's it for today's video. So like I said, instructions are available at the link in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.